Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are reading with the Course Companions group. We're in chapter 28, The Little Gap, section 5, Share Not Evil Dreams. Dear God, please enable us to set aside everything that we think we know about everything about this reading, about ourselves, about our brothers, about this world, about you, God. Please enable us to have an open mind and a new experience with you, God, A Course in Miracles, today's reading, this world, ourselves, and our brothers. And so it is. Amen. Share not evil dreams. What is a sense of sickness but a sense of limitation, of a splitting off and separating from, a gap perceived between ourselves and what is seen as health? The good is seen outside, the evil in, and thus is sickness separating off the self from good and keeping evil there. God is the alternate to dreams of fear. Who shares in them can never share in him, but who withdraws his mind from sharing them is sharing him. There is no other choice. Except you share it, nothing can exist, and you exist because God shared his will with you, that his creation might create. It is the sharing of the evil dreams of hate and malice, bitterness and death, of sin and suffering, of pain and loss that makes them real. Unshared, they are perceived as meaningless. The fear is gone from them because you did not give them your support. Where fear has gone, there love must come because there are but these alternatives. Where one appears, the other disappears, and which you share becomes the only one you have. You have the one which you accept because it is the only one you wish to have. You share no evil dreams if you forgive the dreamer, and perceive that he is not the dream he made. And so he cannot be a part of yours from which you both are free. Forgiveness separates the dreamer from the evil dream and thus releases him. Remember, if you share an evil dream, you will believe you are the dream you share. Footnote 27, text chapter 28, section 4. You could be anyone or anything depending on whose evil dreams you share. You can be sure of just one thing, that you are evil, for you share in dreams of fear. And back to the text. And fearing it, you will not want to know your own identity because you think that it is fearful. And you will deny yourself and walk upon an alien ground which your Creator did not make and where you seem to be a something you are not. You will make war upon yourself, which seems to be your enemy, and will attack your brother as part of what you hate. There is no compromise. You are yourself or an illusion. What can be between illusion and the truth? A middle ground where you can be a thing that is not you must be a dream and cannot be the truth. You have conceived a little gap between illusions and the truth to be the place where all your safety lies, and where yourself is safely hidden by what you have made. Here is a world established that is sick, and this, the world that body's eyes perceive. Here are the sounds it hears, the voices which its ears were made to hear, yet sights and sounds the body can perceive are meaningless. It cannot see nor hear. It does not know what seeing is, what listening is for. It is as little able to perceive as it can judge or understand or know. Its eyes are blind, its ears are deaf. It cannot think, so it cannot have effects. What is there God created can be sick, and what that he created not can be. Let not your eyes behold a dream, your ears bear witness to illusion. They were made to look upon a world that is not there, to hear the voices that can make no sound. Yet there are sounds, and other sights which can be seen and heard and understood. For eyes and ears are senses without sense, and what they see and hear they but report. It is not they that see and hear, but you who put together every jagged piece, each senseless scrap and shred of evidence, and make a witness to the world that you want. Let not the body's ears and eyes perceive these countless fragments seen within the gap that you imagined, and let them persuade their Maker his imaginings were real. Creation proves reality because it shares the function all creation shares. It is not made of little bits of glass, a piece of wood, a thread or two perhaps, and put together to attest its truth. Reality does not depend on this. There is no gap which separates the truth from dreams and from illusions. Truth has left no room for them in any time or place, for it fills every place and every time, and makes them wholly indivisible. You who believe there is a little gap between you do not understand that it is here that you are kept as prisoners in a world perceived to be existing here. The world you see does not exist because the place where you perceive it is not real. The gap is carefully concealed in fog, and misty pictures rise to cover it with vague, uncertain forms and changing shapes, forever unsubstantial and unsure. Yet in the gap is nothing, and there are no awesome secrets and no darkened tombs where terror rises from the bones of death. Look at the little gap, and you behold the innocence and emptiness of sin that you will see within yourself when you have lost the fear of recognizing love. This is Robert Perry's Commentary, Day 328, Section 5, Share Not Evil Dreams. In this section, Jesus again urges us not to share our brother's evil dreams of sickness and death. This must be an extremely important theme as it has run throughout the last 3 sections. So let's step back and look more closely at this theme. First, what are my brother's dreams? I take that term to mainly refer to my brother's external circumstances as experienced by him. At the center of these circumstances, of course, is his body. His dream, you could say, is the dream of his life. If you imagined what we normally call his real life merely being a dream he was having while asleep, that captures how the word dream or dreams is being used here. Second, how do I share those dreams? I see them as real and thus as having power over him as well as power over me. As a result, I see his dreams as defining his identity and even defining my identity, as we saw yesterday. All of this is true whenever I have an emotional reaction to his dreams of pain. Whether that reaction be sympathy, grief, delight over his misery, fear, etc. That reaction shows that I have made his dreams real to me, which means I have made them more real to him. I have thus added another chain to the ones that already encircle him. But how on earth do I not share those dreams? How do I not see his life as having power over him and defining him? That, I believe, is what the final 4 paragraphs of this section addresses. So let me try to draw out what I see as their import. What we have done is establish what Jesus calls a little gap in between who we really are and our illusory beliefs of who we are. We have established a tiny bubble. In this bubble is the pictorial representation of all those insane beliefs. To visualize this, you might picture a 3-inch wide, unusually durable soap bubble. And in the in the bottom half of the bubble is a thick fog. Onto the surface of this fog, we then project all of our insane beliefs. As a result, we see in the fog a moving picture of our world and more specifically of what we call our lives. One of the items projected onto the fog is our body, which is the direct projection of our concept of ourselves as a separate creature. We then identify with this body so completely that we experience ourselves as inside it, seeing through its eyes, hearing through its ears, feeling through its skin. A collection of images that we see surrounding this body then becomes what we call our life. You might imagine us, the real us, as a glowing light outside this bubble. Yet we are asleep and dreaming, and so our total experience is of being inside that body in the bubble, looking at its surrounding through its little eyes. Our brother is on the other side of the bubble, so that the bubble stands between us. He too is a light, and he too is asleep, which means that, like us, he experiences himself in a tiny body in that bubble surrounded by a tiny life. Now, as our body's eyes look over at his bubble body and his bubble life, what do? We immediately take in the visual data and start putting the pieces together. We take every jagged piece, each senseless scrap and shred of evidence, including little bits of glass, a piece of wood, a thread or two perhaps, and weave a picture of who our brother is based on the data that we see with our tiny eyes. For instance, we decide that he is a sick person who has an unfair disease and whom we feel sorry for. Or we decide he is an alcoholic who leads a meaningless life and only cares about his car. Sorry. I swear it says that. No, I swear. Come look.
No, I can't.
It does.
That's just wrong.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Robert Perry. It does.
You wrote that. You changed that.
I did not. Come look. My husband just got a Hellcat. A Dodge Hellcat. This is so funny. And he's sitting.
That's just wrong, man.
Or we decide he is an alcoholic who leads a meaningless life and only cares about his Hellcat. Or we decide he is a hypocrite who espouses spiritual principles but is impossible to actually be around. Perhaps we go even further, trying to insightfully delve into the depths of the fog. What dark things below the surface, we wonder, are the real story about him? What darkened tombs might be hidden inside of him, where terror rises from the bones of death? You can probably see where I'm heading. If this was our actual situation, if we were lights outside this tiny bubble, and the bubble contained merely the projection of our insane beliefs, how seriously should we take what we see in it? Should our emotions rise and fall with each change in the pictures inside it? Should we gather every scrap of data from it as the basis for figuring out our brother's identity? Or should we see the bubble for what it is? A bubble containing nothing but senseless pictures projected onto vapor is an empty bubble. And if the bubble is empty, that means there is nothing standing between us and our brother, that ancient holy being whose radiant identity has nothing to do with tiny pictures in a miniature bubble. That perspective is how we not share evil dreams. Thank you so much. I'm sorry about that interruption. It was just too funny. Day 328, Section 5. I have to show my husband that's exactly what is printed. Share not evil dreams. I love you. Have a beautiful day.